Fellow Kansas and Western fans, it's time for episode number 42 of the construction of the Kansas and Western HO scale model railroad. Today we'll be starting at the Rail Gorge route, which won the poll for the last 2 weeks. I will say though, to start off, I was sick for a number of days these last 2 weeks, so I did not get as much done as I wanted to. I wasn't necessarily bedbound, but I had very low energy. Had that thing going around here. I don't know what it is. Cold, flu, who knows. My doctor said it wasn't pneumonia, so I guess that's good. But I'm better now. Voice still sounds a little funny, but I did get a little bit done this week after I started feeling better, so we'll talk about that and then touch on a few other areas of layout. But starting down here in the Rail Gorge route, the most noticeable aspect, if you saw my video yesterday on how I do stuff, I've added quite a bit of rock to the rail, to the Arkansas River here and the Rail Gorge route. It looks very uniform, and that's because I'm kind of sampling doing this rock on the riverbed and just doing the sampling. And by sampling, I mean I haven't glued it in place. The only rock that's glued in place is on the banks here, and you can see that's solid as a rock. This time the pun is intended for those that saw yesterday's video. There's a few loose ones here and there, not a big deal. But I had to put a little bit extra in here by accident. Decided to leave it, decided to fill it in just to see how I would like it. Still need to add brush and maybe a few trees here and there, so there's more to do yet here, but I like the look so far. Color-wise, I'm not sure about. As I stated, I wanted to recolor the rock face. I didn't have time to get any work done on that. But if I had to paint the rock or paint the rock face so that they more matched each other, I could, but I'm not 100% sure the rock necessarily needs to match the rock face, because this is kind of erosion control, riprap, whatever you want to call it. It's not necessarily native. I would think that it would be from construction of the rail line, but that's something more research needs to be done. But at any rate, I like the scale of the rock itself. I think it's appropriate for HO scale and the size. There's a lot of variety. You can see as I zoom in here, it's not all the same size, and some smaller particles, even a little bit of dirt here and there. So I like the look, and I'm going to proceed forward with that. The only issue yet is the riverbed. However, one thing I did sort of decide, at least for this point, with rock in the river bottom like that, I think I am going to go back to doing actual resin for the water. Because I do want to be able to at least slightly be able to see rock and material through the water. I think the Arkansas River there is at least fairly clear. I know it's more greenish in color, but it is mountain water, snow runoff, so not a whole lot of contaminants, not a whole lot of sediment, fine sediment anyway. So I think I may try my hand at resin. So I'm kind of excited about that. Long way from that step. It's going to be about the last step for this whole scene. But I'm kind of interested in trying that now. Anyway, the other major aspect that I got done, if maybe you can see there, almost all the ballast is complete. The only part I didn't get done is around this bridge, because I think similar to resin, bridge installation is one of the last steps, because I have to get in there and do all the scenic work underneath, and that's obviously a pain for such a low bridge. We're talking about a 2-inch clearance there to try to do any of that work with that bridge in place. And so the track connections here are not soldered. There's no real paint on the track besides the rails. So I should be able to remove that as necessary to get that work done. So as I said, still more work there to do, but I did get the rest of the ballast laid around this curve. So that looks okay. Happy with that. I got the backdrop cut to shape and taped up with double stick tape. So that looks fine. Just have to figure out how to do the dirt work. And that's another thing I did try over here that I forgot to mention. I've been experimenting with using concrete grout, or tile grout, for dirt. It's easy to mix up, but the consistency isn't quite right, because as you can see, you can tell how I spread it out with a little trowel knife or a little clay knife, and there's all kinds of ridges in there, which I don't want. So might need to thin it out a little bit more. Not quite sure, and I don't know if you can see the detail when I zoom in here, kind of a granular aspect to it. Not sure how necessary this step even is, but I don't really have access to regular dirt because I live in kind of a clay soil area, so maybe I'll have to just actually buy dirt and try that out, because I know a lot of people use real dirt for something like this. Still something I'm unsure about. Need to try some other things, I guess, but I also tried that out. So I guess that's about it for the Royal Gorge. Well, I guess you could say I did paint everything. I kind of got tired of looking at the pink foam, although I'm still going to come over that again with the road material. I did find at the local hobby town this paving system that Woodland Scenics offers. And all this does is it provides you with I'm guessing as a proper depth of double stick tape, so that you can line the sides of the road. And I think on the back it's got some instruction if you guys haven't seen this. All you're trying to do is line the sides of the road and then use some kind of a scenic material between that to give you a road surface. And then that gives you kind of an asphalt look or a concrete look, depending on what you use, I guess. And then it gives you just a slight edge so that you can put a shoulder on either side, which I want to be able to do. Not much shoulder, I don't think, on US 50 along the route, but there's always at least a little bit of gravel on either side of the asphalt. But something else to play with, but that's going to be a later step for sure. I guess that's it for the Royal Gorge route. Not a whole lot done, but I am happy about what I did get done. One other thing that I wanted your guys' opinion on. So if you noticed, I've had these rails in and out stuck in the foam here, and this is some more erosion control for steeper areas of the bank. Railroads use this often, and all this is you've got a couple rails that are standing vertical, and then you have a couple rails that'll be sitting horizontal like that. I'm not quite sure how to mount those, whether I should maybe joint compound those in place or sculpt a mold. I'm not quite sure how to go about doing that. I don't want to put rock in place first because it'd be almost impossible to drive those rails in place without bending them. So looking for some suggestions, some ideas on how to mount those. That's why I haven't attacked that yet, although I probably could now, because again, I'd want to put rock in and around those and then have the ballast lead right up to the tops. But I need to figure out how to mount those first. So any suggestions in that route would be helpful. So now I'm going to go ahead and continue with the layout tour for the vote for this weekend. There are a couple of things that I've added here and there, things that I've bought that I'm prepared to work on. So anyway, moving here into Canon City, nothing new in this area, no new equipment. Still actually was struggling a little bit to find another downtown kit, but this time I've actually saved. This is like their downtown kit number 4 or whatever, or 6. So I need to find another one of those so I can get this downtown finished. And then moving on here to Portland Cement. Need some building detail work and some paint here, and track weathering and ballast. And that is one other thing I forgot to do. And I don't know if it's standard for me to mention that or not, but all this track has been weathered that the ballast is put down. So that takes some time, but it all got done and looks pretty decent, I think. Back through here. Portals need some scenic work to help tie those into the scene without looking just a giant square in the backdrop. And I'll move over to the other side of the layout. Here we have Pueblo, which is now up and running. If you saw my last operations video from Tuesday, I think. This is going to be a fun area to operate. A lot of complex trackage. The interaction between the local line and local operator, the locomotive they're running, and the switcher is a little bit complex. And I haven't even gotten the actual mill tracks laid yet. So that'd be the next thing to work on for this, is to get that mill structure built and these last few tracks laid for that. But all the rest of it's up and running, all of it's powered, and I'm really happy with the results there. Moving on to La Junta. Nothing new here. Well, you will see the yard's been cleaned out. One thing I've been working on for the last couple of weeks, one of my viewers suggested a simple way to start cataloging my collection for using JMRI software. So I've started doing that, and as evidence, you can see underneath here in the staging yard, a lot of cars have been placed down here. to help me keep track of which ones I've done. So started cataloging my entire collection. I think I'm up to 90 some cars. Everything on this side of the layout and on this level has been cataloged, including in staging. There's some cars in the other staging yard on the other wall, but all cars on the upper level have not yet been cataloged. So I've got to have upward of around 200 cars, I think, given how many are left up here. But before I get too distracted, we'll get back on the tour here. All right, moving down to the end of La Junta. Still just have to finish this last bridge support, and this bridge will be done. And we'll add a piece of foam here to bring it up to level with the rest. Now we're here to Lamar. Just more structure detail work for these, track weathering and ballast. And I have to figure out what kind of backdrop I'm going to put in here. Probably going to have to be a custom job, as I've not seen any commercially available I think will work for that space. Need to build an elevator to tie all these bins in together with the silo. Around here to Holly. The main line's been ballasted, so I just have to finish weathering and ballasting the rest of the tracks for Holly. I think I had this kit last time, but this will be the other silo, that old silo that goes with this seed distributor. It's the same kit as this one over here on the left, but I'm going to modify it significantly so it doesn't look the same. And we've got these grade crossing pads that need to be added, along with doing grade crossings. Never done that before. Got several of these Pico bumpers. I think I'm going to like those better than the Walthers ones, just because these kind of interact more with the track itself instead of just sitting on top of it. So thanks for reminding me. I had a viewer, I think, a couple episodes ago that mentioned I should try those out. So I've got several of those kits. Up here to Holcomb. Got most of the track ballasted for the main line. Just have to do the two spurs for the plant. Here in Garden City for these two industries, I finally got some primary structure kits from Pike Stuff for both of these industries, Midwest PMS and Helena Chemical. So I can integrate those structures into the scenes. And moving around the corner to Charleston Elevator. Picked up a home kit, which is fairly similar to the one that exists on site. So I can get that built and integrated into the scene. And then I just need to add a co-op office. Moving on around to the Wichita Industrial Park. Definitely need to add some lumber for this scene, otherwise it's a lumber distributor that's gone out of business. Plenty more work to do on these structures for these industries here. Still need to get another kit to be able to finish out this scratch build here, or this kit bash actually. And this last spur up against the wall still needs to be added. So that would be the last piece of track over in this area that needs to be done. Now we'll do BNSF side of the Wichita yard. Got a really good start a couple weeks ago on the ballast for the yard. It's going to take a long time because it's obviously a lot of track, a lot of weathering to do, but I think it's been looking pretty good so far. And I think the bridge was a pretty nice touch to add to the end, just to break up the monotony of all the open track. And back down to the UP side. Another one of those Pico track bumper kits. For this Cargill industry here, I've gotten all the remaining kits that I wanted to add. Another one of these large grain bins, a grain dryer, and a grain conveyor to tie them all in. So that will effectively fill up this kind of triangle area here, which was also meant to continue this view block that the main elevator creates between the 2 yards. So looking forward to seeing how that looks. And still need to add some more detail to the tops of this to tie this scratch build or kit bash in. I'm going to transition over to Towanda. Ready to add a grade crossing here. And I don't know if I mentioned this or not, but I am going to probably angle this off straight across here, just so this looks a little bit more natural instead of having a jagged angle right in the middle of this road. And we got the Dorado oil field. I'm going to cut kind of a draw into this, kind of a little creek bed. There's all kinds of little creek beds throughout the oil field area that only fill with water when it rains. So I'm looking forward to try to model something like that. It's going to be fairly shallow. This is only 1 inch thick foam, but just to give kind of a dry creek bed look to this, with probably just some kind of a culvert that passes under the tracks. So looking forward to trying that out. And still need to add another small structure kit here for mirrors, but this is what I have for so far. And more detail obviously added to that kit. I got a transition area over here to the Dorado Industrial Park, or the rest of it, I guess. I've got another primary structure kit here from Pike Stuff again to fill out this scene a little bit more. I'm going to get rid of some of these tanks and place them somewhere else or tie them in somehow, just to add a little more differentiation to this scene. And then I've got more of these loading racks. You can see this one here. I need to add one more for this scene, and then we're going to add 2 more over here for BG products, and then I think a total of 2 or 4 back over in Garden City. And then we got the Dorado refinery itself. Need to add a lot of fencing around the main line area, track weathering ballast. I've mentioned this many times. This last spur here won't be completed until I've finished all the main structures in the refinery, just to make sure everything's going to fit the way I want before I put that spur in place. And then I need to custom build this loading rack to fill out this whole double spur here. And try to figure out what else I'm going to do for this coker unit here. As I mentioned before, this entire concrete pad will likely be full of refinery structures similar to that. And I'll revisit something a long time ago. Someone asked to have me do a step-by-step build of this chemical plant, this Faller chemical plant kit. I've not been doing video of it, but I have been doing slides, and that is still out there. I know I started a video on showing how I would do that. Haven't forgotten about it. Whenever the refinery kit is going to have, or whenever this scene wins the poll, I'll continue working on that and continue taking those slides so that I can produce a pretty long video of how this thing came together step by step per the instructions. So that is still out there. I haven't forgot about that for those that were interested in seeing that. And here we've got the transition. A lot of people have suggested go ahead and adding the backdrops that I've been using, the commercial backdrops, and just sticking it right to the door. Haven't made my decision on that yet. That's a good idea. I think that will impact the panel itself the least. So that's probably what I'm leaning towards. I'm just trying to decide, if it's some kind of a safety issue or something, further masking the electrical panel more than it is. So decision yet to come on that. Otherwise, definitely going to be adding a backdrop here for this whole scene for Union Tank Car. I already know what backdrop I'm going to use. Just a matter of whenever this thing wins the poll to get to work on that. And then I need to finish this transition around this window to straighten this up so it's not at an angle. So that's the full tour of the layout. I'm going to open up the polls now for this weekend. Leave a vote in the comment for the area of the layout you'd like to see me work on for the next 2 weeks. I'll tabulate the results after Sunday at midnight this weekend, U.S. Central Time. Monday afternoon, I'll I'll do an update video on the results and the work plan for carrying it out. This weekend, not sure how much I'm going to get done. There's a train show in town at Cessna Activity Center Saturday and Sunday. I plan to attend Saturday afternoon. I'll probably wear a t-shirt with my logo on it. So if any of you guys that are local to my channel for the Wichita area happen to run across me, I'd love to meet you guys and discuss either my layout or yours. Doesn't really make any difference to me. So feel free to stop me if you see me. But otherwise, leave your comments in the leave your poll vote in the comments below. And thank everybody for watching and for questions, comments, and very nice suggestions a lot of you have been leaving. So that should be it for now. Everybody have a great weekend.